Okay, so this video is going to be about Addie because I did say some stuff about her in the description of one of the videos where my mom's boyfriend was the same stuff he always used to do, but I only have like one of those videos now where he talks about how she's not real and she's one of my schizophrenic alters, and I was texting myself and pretending that it was somebody named Addie. First of all, for anybody that knows, schizophrenia doesn't even have alters, DID does, but that's a whole nother story. So I'm about to talk about that now and also show some of the stuff, not some of it, everything I had in the description that was about her, which I think all of it was about her because I didn't have any space after that. Okay, I should have changed my screen time settings before I did this. But anyway, I'm going to give a backstory. So, Addie is one of the people that was in my friend group that I had, which was like the first friend group that I ever had back in 6th grade when I went to this school called QEA. And this is when I lived with my dad and grandma when he kept going to jail, or he was doing what he was always doing ever since I was 6 and 7. Well, not 6 and 7, 8 when we left my stepmom's house, which was leaving me at the house by myself while he went to go prostitute and do whatever else he did. So yeah, that's kind of why, well, that's one of the reasons why I eventually had to move back in with my mom. And actually, that's kind of one of the reasons why I had to move with my mom in the first place. Because my grandma was at work all the time, and she worked from the time I got home from school. Well, before I even got home from school, or sometimes a little after I got home, like a few minutes after, till 12 a.m. I think. Or either it was, yeah, till 12 a.m. And then sometimes she would go in a little later till 5, or maybe, no, I think that was that last go around when I was here. So yeah, she worked till 12 a.m., so she was never really there, which is why I had to start taking care of myself even before this. Because of course, I had to start doing that at 8. I'm not even talking about just at 12. The house wasn't even really in the best living conditions because, like, it had no air conditioning. The shower didn't work at all. The water temperature didn't work, and then sometimes the water would barely come out. It was different stuff like that. That's not even the point, though. But in the end, I moved back with my mom because, for one, my dad was never there. And then my grandma was mad because she kept getting calls, and so they had called her. And basically, the principal lied and said I poured milk on my pants. And my friend, which I guess I'm going to call Kay right now, she had told the principal that I never poured milk on my pants. And it fell off the table because I had it at the edge, and some girl was kicking the table while she was laughing, and she was moving a lot and stuff. And so then it had fell and spilled on me, which is what happened. And the thing is, even if I did pour milk on my pants, that has nothing to do with the principal. So how are you going to call home and say I poured milk on my pants? Like, that even concerns you. Like, I poured milk on her or something. I wouldn't do that anyway. And so then, when she called home, my grandma came up there with my mom, and then that's the day that I basically got kicked out and had to move back in with my mom. And that's the thing, though. All I did was get kicked out back and forth at ages where I wasn't even old enough to be getting kicked out. But yet, whenever authorities get involved, nobody wants to admit that they don't really want me to be living with them anyway. So I just have to continuously get kicked out and go from bad situation to bad situation with the same people over and over again. That's exactly why. I'm glad somebody even told me about emancipation. In fact, I think it was Chocolate that first brought it up when she was talking about some girl that she knew or something. But I'm glad people told me that I should try to get emancipated because honestly, that's really the last option. Although the process it's really not working out. Anywho, I'm talking about other stuff. So, that's when I met Addie. But actually, when I had got kicked out and that day that the principal called home and all that stuff, Addie wasn't there because she actually had been out of school for like 2 months and didn't come back till after I left because she had to get surgery for for appendicitis or something. But now I'm about to start talking about her, and then I guess I'll read this at the end. This right here. So the thing about Addie was she was really abusive. And I'm really starting to realize now how bad she actually was, since now I'm actually at the point where I really understand how bad all the stuff going on in my life is and has been, and how not okay all of it was. And it was really in mid-2020, of course, because that's when I had realized what was actually going on, and I found out what narcissism was, and a narcissistic family system and a dysfunctional family system through a TikTok, YouTube rabbit hole. And so when I started realizing how bad and unokay everything was then in mid-2020, that's also when I realized how not okay everything was with the whole Addie situation. Which is also when I had just started talking to her again because she had found me on IG. Because the friendship, well, quote-unquote friendship, it wasn't like something that just continued throughout time. It was like a off and on. She'll do something crazy to me and then block me, and then we won't talk for like 5 months, and then she'll find one of my social medias again and then start talking to me and all that stuff. So that's how that was. And it was really what I told myself is that, well, she's better than my relatives because at least she apologizes, even though her apologies are probably faker than Steven's and really anybody else or any other narcissist who apologizes for anything. And then the funny thing is, she tries to, like my mom's boyfriend, he'll constantly bring up the fact that he apologizes for stuff to try to manipulate somebody with the apologies. She'll act like she never even apologized and lie about the fact she even apologized for something she did. But I don't want to start comparing people because really, bad is bad, and it's just, I don't know what else to say about that. Anywho, so here's some of the stuff that she would do, which I actually did have proof of, but not anymore because it was on my main email that I had since 2016. And as you know, when my older sister had started deleting the video evidence once Defect snitched about it, she changed my main email password, so I can't even get back into that. So she would date 20 boys at one time, and then she wouldn't even like really any of them except for maybe one, just to get them to get her stuff, which is the same thing my dad does. My dad is, I would say, actually no, not I would say, he definitely is 48 or 49 because his birthday is June 13th, 1974. He's 48 or 49, and he's never had his own house because he's always manipulating people into getting them to let him stay with them. Just different little pretty privilege stuff and manipulation. And so that's the same thing Addie would do. She would date these boys, get them to take her to the mall and get her stuff, and just do different little stuff for her. Then she would try to convince them to kill themselves and try to talk them into suicide. She would talk all types of junk to them. And then in 2020, when this was going on, she was posting it on her story and making jokes about it. And so there was this boy that she was dating that she didn't like. And then she told him, of course, I never actually liked you because you're fat. And she was saying all types of derogatory stuff to him. And this was a screenshot that she posted on her story. And she would basically post these little different, like, book page type things on her story about the different stuff she was doing to them. And so, of course, people were seeing this. I don't know how her boyfriend's never seen this. I think that she blocked her boyfriends from seeing her stories. And my phone almost turned off. And so then, what else did she do? I'm trying to remember. Oh, yeah, and then I had to try to talk her into apologizing to these different people. Because at first there was this boy named Alex. But then she eventually started to admit to me how many different boys she was actually dating and talking to. And I was just like, so does your mom not say anything about all these different boyfriends that come and pick you up and take you to the mall. I was just really confused about that. Like, where is she at? Of course, I know that, obviously, my parents, I know that, but I'm just saying, like, they had, I'm not gonna lie though, I feel like something had to be going on. She was always saying that her parents were nice to her. I think that if they really weren't actually mean to her, then they just weren't emotionally available, because that can also cause people to act like this. And so that's what I assume, because they're always at work and stuff. That's why she had the problems that she has. Then she always wants to talk junk about me for living in the hood and talk junk about. I mean, most of Winston is the hood, so how are you going to talk junk about somebody for living in the hood when really the whole city is the hood? But that's a whole nother story. And so it's like, you always want to talk junk about people for that, but then you do little ghetto stuff, and it's just like, why act hood and then talk junk about people who actually are from the hood? It just didn't make sense to me. And so then she would talk junk about me and our other friends in the friend group, which was like 4 people, I think. Hold up. Me, her, Kay, and then I think his name was Aaron. No, that's 5. Well, not counting myself, that would be 4. So, anyway, she would call the girl named Kay ugly all the time. I think I already did. Wait, I just said that, didn't I? Okay, so she would do that, and then that's why eventually Kay stopped talking to her. Kay stopped talking to her before anybody did, which is why it's crazy to me how Kay was in that group chat when Addie had came to me talking crazy about the whole missing persons thing, and I'm like, I kept asking her, how did you see that from a whole nother state anyway? I know that, like, they're statewide, but, like, you had to have been looking, because I haven't even had anybody in this state, or at least not too many people in this state, bring it up to me. So how are you bringing it up to me from North Carolina? Then she had screenshots of the different articles, and she was like, if you keep asking me how I found it, I'm going to post these on all my social medias. So now she's trying to blackmail me with a missing persons report. Like, what type of stuff is that anyway? And that was recent too. That was like, that wasn't last month. That was 2 months ago, something like that. Actually, no. Whenever the hunt for Mama was, whenever that was, it was then, because I think she had texted me that like a few days, like 5 days before we had went back to North Carolina for the hunt for Mama, which that's not even on this channel. That's on another channel. The videos about that are on the Part 4 channel. And that was in April. So anyway, then she would do compliment fishing. I really thought that she meant the stuff that she was saying, but now I'm realizing that it was all compliment fishing. So not only would she call us ugly, but she would also say that she thought she was ugly, and to get me to say that she looks nice, which she actually did look nice, but that's not even the point. And I'm pretty sure she knew that, which is why I'm saying compliment fishing. Then she would tell me to kill myself. Then she would tell me she hates me. And so in 2020, when I was trying to figure out what all was wrong with me, which was probably just the fact that I was back on the pills, because I think this was that time period, because this is mid-2020, we were both we were both talking about whether we were bipolar or not. And so she said she didn't meet a lot of it. And so basically we were going through this whole self-diagnosis thing. I'm not bipolar though, by the way. But I was just trying to figure out, because I was having different pill side effects, and I don't know why I was acting like I didn't know that's what it was. And so I thought she was bipolar. Now I'm realizing that, honestly, not trying to diagnose somebody, but she's really probably a narcissist or a sociopath herself. Because, of course, people that have narcissists, or really that grow up in any type of abusive family, are bound to get into all types of abusive relationships, whether it's friendships or not. Like, some of the same stuff Steven did, she did. Or Steven has done recently. She did a long time ago. Like, we had this turtle that she named after me, and then she wrapped it up in tissue until it suffocated and died. She told me she forgot about it, and I was like, why did you wrap it up in tissue anyway? And so that reminds me of how in 2018, that same neighborhood where I got locked up for the first time because I started defending myself, my mom's boyfriend and my siblings, whatever transpired to them throwing my turtle off the balcony. Is it raining? Dang. Okay, so they threw my turtle off the balcony. That's what that reminds me of, even though what she did happened years after that. And then she also used to post videos on her story and send me videos of her beating her dog with different objects, which reminds me of the recent things that went down with the dog that my older sister and her boyfriend had, that Stephen used to beat and choke and tase and stuff. Even though she did that before this all went down, obviously. But still. And her dog is small, too. She has, like, one of those small, expensive dogs. We had a pit bull, which the videos that I do have left of that are on here. And so then what else? Oh, yeah. She used to send me videos off the dark web of people mutilating themselves. And then a dude getting shot in the head who was disabled while he was doing extracurricular activities. And I was like, where did you even get this stuff anyway? And she had screen recorded it and sent it to me. Sometimes she posted on her story. She posts video on her story, on her Snapchat story of one dude getting this other dude to put a drill that was turned on inside of certain places. And not even his butt. So it was even worse because I was like, how do you even get that to fit in there? And that was, I don't even know what to say about that. Then she sent me videos of a dude hitting a 3-year-old and a lady, which I'm pretty sure were his girlfriend and daughter, in the head with a shovel and beating them until they passed out. And I was like, and I thought this was bipolar. But now I know that honestly, she's probably a sociopath for whatever reason. But also, if she doesn't actually have trauma, then it'll be a psychopath because, like, psychopaths are born, sociopaths are made. So, that's that. There's probably other stuff that I'm forgetting. Oh, yeah, then there was this boy that I recently blocked. And by recently, I mean like 2 days ago. Because we had gotten to this conversation. I was like, honestly, I should probably just stop talking to you again. Because it's like, okay, so here's the backstory. I met him through Addie. He was one of the boys that Addie was lying to and trying to convince to kill himself. And she would be like, well, it's not my fault that he caught feelings through text. And I was just like, you were telling him that you loved him, knowing you didn't. And so he would spend all day blowing up my phone about different girls he was talking to that he knew didn't like him, how they were breaking his heart. But he never wanted to date me. And so because I'm a codependent and I'm a people pleaser, I've always been the person to be the unpaid therapist that never got anything in return at all. Or the unpaid motivational speaker to different people. And it was usually the people that didn't even like me at that. And so then I eventually blocked him, and then I started talking to him again. Like a while back. Kind of talking to him. Not as much as I used to. And so we had gotten to this argument where I was basically like, honestly, I should never started talking to you. Or at least I shouldn't have ever kept talking to you. Because I already should know that anybody I meet behind Addie is bound to be some type of setup. Or to just make stuff worse for me. And so then he was like, he basically didn't know what I was talking about or what I meant. And it's, I don't know if he's slow or what, like kind of slow. I really don't know what to say. But it's like, I could be saying some of the most simplest stuff and there are people that just don't know what I'm talking about. It's like, is it the words I'm using? I mean, what is it? But anywho, we got into this argument where he was like, well, Addie wasn't abusive. I don't talk to her anymore, and I haven't heard her name in a long time. But she was cool to be around sometimes, and she was nice. You literally came to me crying, emotional dumping on me, a person that you didn't know. You wouldn't even show me what you looked like, and you were emotionally dumping on me about how bad she was treating you, along with all these other girls, like this one girl from the UK. And I know I used to do that same thing, too, especially when I was 10 and 11, because of the desperation and loneliness. So I would just find these random kids that I met on the internet, usually on IG, and I would just start this little friendship that they never lasted that long. at most like 7 months, where we would emotional dump on each other, and it would help me feel better until the friendship was over, because they realized how weird it was. It was people that I didn't even know, that didn't even live in the same state as me, and that's how desperate I was. But that's a whole nother story, to be honest. But it's like, he wouldn't even show me what he looked like. So for all I know, he could have been lying about everything and just been another one of those people that Eddie used to talk to. Oh yeah, and I forgot to say, so she would also make these fake accounts and pretend to be people that I knew, and boys that I used to talk to or was talking to, and she would talk junk to me. And so one time I had to ask my boyfriend, who she also had tried to date, even though she never liked him. And he knew her way before me, and he said he never liked her since elementary because she was always abusive. But anyway, he was like, she's lying, and that's definitely Addie. That's not Omar, because he would never even talk to a girl that way. And so she was pretending to be this boy that had liked me named Omar. That's a long story. Then, before I had blocked her that last go around in 2020, before she had tracked me down, they're looking me up. Dang, my voice cracked. They're looking me up and stuff in April. Before that happened, wait a minute, what was I saying? Dang, I'm having brain fog. Or I'm dissociating because I'm having flashbacks. One of those. Anywho, so, hold up. Oh, yeah, so she would make fun of me for, like, my situation. She would be like, well, you're only living with your dad because your mom doesn't want you, but your dad doesn't want you either. Or she'll be like, it's not my fault, you're miserable. I actually have a screen recording that's on unlisted because I couldn't really edit the names out of what happened in April. Some of the text messages from the whole thing where she was making fun of me because of the missing persons report. And it's like, honestly, I don't even, it's just a sign, not a sign, proof that I was failed by so many people in my life, which I was told by my counselor and other adults, that the adults in my life, like in the school system and stuff, really did fail me. Because honestly, everything about me is a trauma response, and everything about me is a red flag, which is why ever since I was in elementary, people have always said that everything about me is concerning and that I'm emotionally disturbed and all that. And it's honestly true. Everything about me is literally a trauma response. It's like, honestly, I don't even think I've ever really had a real friendship except for like one. Because everything was really just desperation. And then the thing is, when Addie had lured me back into talking to her again in 2020, what she had said was, you know what, you were right. I feel like I'm about to pass out. Because I was not sitting down. I was on my knees for like a while. And then I stood up and now I'm lightheaded. Anywho, she was like, you were right about everything. And now nobody wants to talk to me anymore because of everything I did to them. And I have 0 friends now and all that. And so she was like, you were right. And my dog Layla got attacked and lost her leg and had to get surgery. I think she said the dog lost her leg. Well, the dog almost died at least. I know that part. And she was like, now I feel bad for how I treated her and how I was always beating on her. And then that boy that used to emotional dump on me, it wouldn't even show me what he looked like. He was like, you're lying when we got in the argument 2 days ago. He was like, she never did beat her dog. And I was like, she used to post that on her Snapchat story. Like, maybe you weren't around at that point in time, but like, really. She didn't even hide a lot of the stuff about her because she would literally post it. And so, that's who Addie is. And so, because I was so desperate and didn't have anybody else and my whole family situation, I was the main person, really the only person that she was able to keep in this abusive situation because nobody else will put up with it. Because, of course, people from healthy families don't get in, not only do they not even get in situations like this 9 times out of 10, but they definitely don't stay in them once they do get in. So, nobody else to talk to her, and I was the only person she had, and she was the only person I had. So sometimes it was like this little enmeshment thing, and just a lot of weird stuff went on, and it was really super toxic. So now I'm about to read this, and then that's it. Dang, this is 24 minutes. That's crazy. I didn't even know I was talking for that long. Okay, so I did have some video evidence with the girl Addie, but I don't know if I still do. I think it was deleted too because it was on one of the channels from part 1 to part 3, which are the ones that are deleted, plus the MH Truth channel, which was about people's psychiatry abuse stories. So it didn't really have anything to do with anything. But the whole I carved the table thing, which was something I did on accident in 2019, I believe. In 2019, I believe, because I think that was in 2019. I'm pretty sure it was, though. This was the second time we lived in Rolling Hills. Also, I'm going to put the video in the description where my mom's boyfriend was saying that she wasn't real. I believe, which was actually after the house fire and the hotel thing. So I was 13 when this happened. I had just got fought by my mom, and I think her boyfriend too that day. So I was feeling depressed, like always. Plus, I was on the pills, which gave me melancholy and anhedonia, and also the thousands of other side effects. Which is why I almost died from them, but that's a whole nother story, which I have a video about anyway. So while I was feeling sad, I was reminiscing on the fun I had in 6th grade, which is something I constantly think about, because even though she was really abusive, 6th grade at QEA was honestly the best point in time I had had. Wait a minute, did I even say that right? I would say that was the best school year I had, because, like, you know how I had hypersexuality disorder, which I have a video where I talk about that, or at least I show a post I have about that, and some other stuff that I actually posted yesterday, I think. I wasn't having those problems then like I did in elementary, so I didn't have to worry about people not wanting to be around me because of that. And I was also known as the funny person, which I kind of always was, but this was like the highlight of being the class clown, which was a coping mechanism for me because I liked making other people feel happy. And there was this one girl that said, "You always know what to say to make me feel better when I'm feeling sad." Which a girl also told me when I was locked up once. She was like, "I wish you could come home with me because you're really funny and you would help me get through the stuff that my mom and her boyfriend do to me." And that was at Baptist Psychiatric floor, Tim Brennard's. That's another story. Anywho, where was I at? Some other kids before I got kicked. Okay, wait a minute. So while I was feeling sad, I was reminiscing on the fun I had in 6th grade with Addie and some other kids before I got kicked out and had to move back in with my mom. I had a pencil, I believe, and was marking her name, but I didn't know I was doing it that hard. My mom got the table from her mom, just like the TV she got from her around that time that her boyfriend punched it broke because my mom said he doesn't brush his teeth. The TV is even in the garage where we live now. And when we moved here, my mom and her boyfriend lied and said they dropped the TV while moving here in the summer of 2020. They still lie to my mom's mom as well about my mom's boyfriend breaking the TV, yet bring up this table. The whole table thing was a part of my dissociative amnesia, and I didn't even remember it till he brought it up. He did get my grandma to come over there and fight me over it, but I didn't remember that either until he said, "You even tried to fight your grandma after she came over when she heard about the table." Obviously, she came over to do something. I thought he was talking about when he jumped me with her at a hotel, which was during the whole "I set the house on fire" lie, which I have some videos left about that. In fact, the video I do have left from about that is the best one because I show where it all happened. Addie is an extremely abusive and psychopathic friend I had who even recently reached out to me making fun of my mom putting out a Maddie's alert saying I'm schizophrenic. She brought up how I've obviously been malnourished, and you can tell from the Maddie's alert picture. She isn't wrong, but it's the fact she made this a response to something I said about all the info down to my weight being wrong. I don't know how she's seen the Maddie's alert when she lives in NC. She has always had problems with stalking me and my family, so she has most likely found out because she had been looking me up, trying to find some way to contact me. Because she even showed me pictures of nieces and nephews I didn't even know I had. And sent me a picture of my brother talking junk about him, and she was talking junk about his neck, and I was like, "That's my brother." And she was like, "Dang, I didn't know that." I'm pretty sure you found that. There's so much I could say about that, but I don't want this to become 30 minutes. So, she loves stalking the different people she abuses and tries to talk into suicide. I dealt with Addie so long because she was all I had. I thought she was bipolar and going through a phase. Now I realize she is evil and just as bad as my family. I always thought she wasn't as bad as my family because she at least made me feel better. She told me about how crazy my abuse is, and she actually would apologize. She seemed to have the issues I do, except she was extremely mean. Some of the issues I do, at least. Now I look back and realize she was just mirroring and pretending to be like me. She would pretend to have self-esteem issues like me, to fish for compliments from me. Sometimes she hated me and wanted me to die, or other times she loved me. I recently thought she had BPD like me, but I realized she doesn't fear abandonment or rejection. She hates people and literally tries to verbally abuse people to death. I could talk about all she's done for hours because I've really said nothing. She would admit that she knows I'm being abused and then make jokes about it and say, "It's not my fault you're miserable," or don't your mom and dad beat you and hate you?" I put up with this and trying to fix her from 2017 to early 2020, which is a symptom of trauma. Having the feeling where you feel like you need to save people or help people or fix them and change them, that comes from trauma, for those that don't know. So it's like a CPTSD symptom, not just like it is. When she made a new account to text me and say, "You know what? You were right about everything. Everyone left me, and no one will put up with me anymore. I feel bad for beating my dog, Layla." I don't know why that says Kayla. Because she recently got attacked and almost died. She said all that to slowly lure me back into giving her another chance. She even had said I was lying about the whole pill side effect thing, even though she used to tell me about how she believed me and all that stuff. So it's like, one minute she cares, the next minute she's making jokes about it and saying I'm lying, which is why I had blocked her. Cause it's like I had put up with so much from her, but once she said that I was lying about my situation, that was the last straw. She was still starting relationships with 20 different boys she didn't even like to break their heart and talk them into suicide. She would send me videos of people beating babies with shovels and other insane things from the dark web. My mom's boyfriend never believed she was real and always said I was just texting myself and I was Addie. He said Addie was one of my schizophrenic alters, multiple personalities. For anyone who doesn't know, schizophrenia doesn't even have alters. DID does, which just shows him my mom's much to my proxy on me. They just make up mental problems and symptoms for me to have, then tell it to psychiatrists who know better, but agree for money. Also, the reason why I abbreviated so much stuff is because I didn't have any more space, so I had to change the whole thing and take out literally every word and then change it with the symbol. And so not only would they do stuff like this, but most of the symptoms that they were saying I had were things that obviously weren't symptoms of mental problems, or they were just obviously things that they didn't like about me, or they were symptoms of DID. Yet I never got diagnosed with DID, but that's a long story. One reason why I've been saying now that I am older, know better, and have been studying mental illness since 2020, since I didn't even know what the 14 plus diagnosis I got at 12 were/meant. I now know the symptoms my mom and her boyfriend said I had were obviously just things my mom didn't like about me. Symptoms of DID and just plain lies. Well, of course I knew what was lies, but that's the story of Addie, basically.